Hi, this week I'm testing one of the newest additions to the burgeoning adventure bike market, and that's Triumph's Tiger 800 XC. Now the Tiger name is no stranger to Triumph's range. In fact, it's been in the model lineup since the 70s. However, as a dual purpose bike, well, it all kicked off so early 90s with the original Triumph Tiger 800. Now the bike slowly evolved over the years to become more of a road sport type bike as opposed to the original dual purpose type machine that it was. And ultimately that grew into the Triumph Tiger 1050. This, however, is aimed fairly and squarely at the adventure rider. Now the two models in the Tiger 800 range share pretty much the same package. There's just the little details that differ. They both have the same 800cc inline triple engine, which puts out about 94 horsepower. They've got the same screen, same headlights, same instrument panels, same adjustable two-piece seat, same exhaust, but there are a few subtle differences. The cross-country version here, well, it's got a 21-inch front wheel as opposed to a 19-inch found on the standard bike. There are also wired wheels on the cross-country, whereas the standard has cast aluminium. Another difference, well, the suspension is a little bit beefier, the forks are a little bit thicker, and obviously there's a little bit more suspension travel there. But other than that, well, this one's set up a bit more for off-road, whereas the standard bike, well, it's pretty much like its big brother, and it's more of a road bike. Behind the bars of the XC is certainly a comfortable place to be. Like any self-respecting adventure bike, it's very much like a dirt bike in its ergo, so you sit bolt upright. There's a nice neutral reach to the bars. They're reasonably high, but there's a real comfy feel to them. Between the seat and the pegs, again, it's not overly cramped. And like the standard bike, well, the seat has a two-way adjustment on it, so it can either be 845mm or 865mm. Even for me, at 190 centimetres, this is a comfortable bike to sit on, and you can certainly see right through the traffic being up high. The mirrors, well, they work quite well. The handguards work well. The screen, well, it's not adjustable like many are, but with the big sort of shrouds on the side here, and it's got a reasonable height on it, it actually deflects a fair amount of the elements away from the rider. So it's not much of a problem. The only thing that really sort of bugs me, and I'm being quite nitpicky here, is the instrument cluster. It's very much like the rest of the Triumph range, and that means that it hasn't really changed for the last 5 years in terms of styling or function. It still gives you the basic information, a couple of trip meters, and a couple of other handy features like the average fuel consumption. You can even get a tyre pressure accessory fitted to that as well. But overall, the buttons are a bit fiddly, and if they spent a few more bucks, you could have had an adjustment button on the handlebars instead of having to reach over to manually adjust them here. Now there's certainly a lot to like about this bike, but by far the best part for me is this engine. 799cc triple, 4 valves per cylinder, and it's pretty much based on the 675 range. It's got the same bore, just a longer stroke. Now it puts out 94 horsepower at just over 9,000 RPM and 74 Newton meters of torque at just over 7,000 RPM. It weighs 215 kgs fully wet, so power to weight ratio, that's just under half a horsepower per kilo, and that's more than ample for New Zealand roads, but it's how the engine delivers that power and torque that really impresses. Straight off the bottom, there's a nice big hit. Mid-range, it's really strong, and while you're not going to get too much more of a hit at the top end, it sounds absolutely glorious getting there. It truly is an engineering masterpiece. Now up the front here, there are a few subtle differences between the standard 800 Tiger and the cross-country. First being this beaky nose, which is kind of similar to BMW's, but a little bit different. Shocks and forks, well, the forks at the front here are Showa, they're non-adjustable. The standard bike gets 43mm items, the XC gets 45mm items. This one has 215 mils of travel, whereas the standard bike's only got 170. At the back, well, it's a similar story. You've got a Showa single shock there. It's hydraulically adjustable for preload on both bikes, but the XC also gets rebound compression adjustment. Again, there's a slight difference in the suspension travel in that the standard bike has 180 mils and the cross country has 220. Both bikes handle particularly well for this type of dual purpose machine. The 21-inch, well, it doesn't quite turn in quite as fast as the standard bike's 19, but you've got 30mm wider bars to give you that little bit more leverage. It holds its line really well, and it's only when you're really pushing it does this front want to move around a little bit. So off-road, it's going to be able to handle a little bit of gravel roads and some more adventurous trails, but you certainly won't be taking it on a motocross track. It's quite easy to bottom that suspension out. If you're going to be doing a lot of off-road, you might want to look at getting it revalved or even resprung, but if it's only a once in a while sort of occasion, well, I just leave it as is. Tyre choice, well, again, it differs from both bikes. The standard 800 gets Pirelli Scorpions, which again are pretty much a road-based tyre. The XC here gets Bridgestone Battle Wings, which err on the roadside as opposed to a proper dual-purpose tyre. If I was going to be doing a bit more gravel road, I'd certainly look at something with a proper knob on there, probably something like a Metzler Karoo. But all in all, on the road, the Battle Wing does an admirable job, and it will handle a bit of gravel. Now this particular model I'm riding has been fitted with the optional ABS. That will set you back about $1,000, and that's available on both the standard and the cross-country bike. As a system, it's pretty good. It's definitely more useful on the road, I think, and it can't be switched off for off-road use. But if you're a novice to gravel road riding or you don't do much adventure riding, it's not your thing, it's certainly not a bad thing having that sort of little peace of mind there. Now the Tyre XC has one of these old-fashioned metal petrol tanks. It's 19 litres, and I've been averaging in the region of about 6.3 litres per 100 k's. But I haven't been lenient with this thing here. If you were a little bit easier on the throttle, you could easily expect somewhere in the region of about 5.6 litres per 100 k's. Either way, you're looking at a minimum sort of range of about 300 k's per tank, and that's pretty good, particularly if you're doing a lot of sort of remote riding in remote areas, as these adventure bikes are built for. Now overall, I have been incredibly impressed with this bike. In fact, I'll go as far to say it is my new favourite bike of the moment. The ergonomics and riding position, they're spot on for me. It's so comfortable. The handling, well, it's predictable. It's not ultimate, but it will let you know when it's getting near the edge. The brakes are good, the suspension is good, but that engine is an absolute cracker, and I just love the sound of that triple when it's getting up in the rev range. It really does flick my switch. How much do you want a piece of kit like this? Well, the non-ABS version is $18,990 plus on-road costs, and this particular bike with the ABS, it's $19,990, and that's pretty comparable to the competition out there in this segment. And like any other adventure bike out there, there is a myriad of accessories, from top boxes to panniers, tank bags, heated grips, tyre gauges, protection, additional lighting, you name it. Everything but the kitchen sink can be bolted to this bike. And of course, most adventurers will be sticking a GPS on there and the aforementioned accessories, so there is a beefed up 550 watt generator to handle it all without running the battery flat. It's not the ultimate adventure bike, but certainly depending on which way you want to lean, to road or off-road, it can be made the ultimate adventure bike. And I think with this aforementioned engine, you're going to have a lot of fun no matter what your preference is.